You're not failing because you are lazy. You're failing because you are building your life in the wrong order. And until you fix that, you're going to stay stuck no matter how hard you try. You're trying to improve your mindset, make more money, build relationships, stay focused, but everything keeps collapsing. Not because you're doing too little, but because you're doing things in the wrong sequence. There is a structure to growth, and if you ignore it, life will punish you for it. I found one of the crucial reasons why we're limited by the conditions and circumstances of the reality we place ourselves in. These limitations are not accidental. In many cases, they're constructed through our decisions, habits, and the environments we tolerate. This becomes the main obstacles to success. And at the core of all of it, it's a mindset. One of the ways to approach this through Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the influence it has on your ability to succeed across different areas of life. What I'm pointing to is imbalance, the misalignment created by your decisions, your actions, or your inactions. Life keeps you in constant motion. It's chaotic by nature. It fluctuates. It rarely allows you to stabilize for long, at least for most of us. I don't know about you, but I find myself constantly transitioning from one state to another, mentally, financially, emotionally, and I'm not even ready to tell if that's good or bad. Because from the perspective of development, constant change can be valuable if you are capable of handling it, if you have the mental capacity, the discipline, the cognitive abilities, and the intention to evolve. The chaos becomes source of insight instead of destruction. But there is the key: you have to be capable. You need to be able to handle complexity. You need control, not absolute control over life, but control over yourself within it. You are expected to manage everything at once. Your basic needs, food, sleep, shelter, your responsibilities to family, your work, your social interactions, and at the same time your personal development. You're expected to grow, to learn, to adapt, to improve, and all of this requires resources: time, energy, money, focus. You need enough capacity to observe new experiences and integrate them into your way of thinking, your internal system, your operating models. But here's the problem. To build anything meaningful, you need stability and security. Stability implies predictability. Without predictability, you cannot plan. Without planning, you cannot evolve. Without evolution, you cannot improve. So the question becomes, how do you handle things when your position is unstable? How do you move forward when your foundation is fragile? It all depends on where you're heading to. And there's where honesty becomes necessary. Not everyone is aiming for something extraordinary. Not everyone is chasing meaning, impact, or dominance. Many people are satisfied with basics: stable job, family, modest home, predictable future, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for those who want more: money, power, stability, authority, influence, or simply refusal to remain average, situation becomes more complicated. Question begins to emerge. How do you manage everything without collapsing under pressure? How do you maintain focus when life keeps pulling you in different directions? How do you actually reach the outcomes you imagine instead of just dreaming about that? I won't promise you results. That would be dishonest from my side. What can I offer is understanding, a framework, a way to look at things more clearly. I'm not asking you to believe me, but if you are mature enough, if you already started building yourself, if you understand the importance of learning, reading, and expanding your perception, then this makes sense to you. Every situation requires unique approach, but what I'll give you are fundamentals, principles that will help you prioritize resources and align your actions. And this is where Maslow's hierarchy of needs becomes useful, because it explains why things fall apart. You cannot focus on higher level goals while your foundation is unstable. You can't build a strong body if you're starving. You can't develop intellectually if you're sleep deprived. You can't create a family if you don't have shelter or security. I mean, you can. But you better shouldn't, because things gonna go messy. When you really examine the structure, it becomes obvious. At the base are the fundamentals, the absolute requirements for survival: food, water, sleep, air, shelter. This is your environment, your immediate reality. Before you attempt to grow, before you attempt to expand your life and complexity, you need to stabilize at this level, because every additional layer increases complexity, and if the foundation is weak, Everything about it becomes unstable. This stage is not glamorous. It's basic, but it's critical. Learn to manage it early, ideally before your 20s. But if you didn't, then you better start now, because without this, nothing else holds. Next level is safety. This is where responsibility becomes real. You're no longer just surviving, you're solidifying your position. This includes personal security, financial stability, and the development of confidence. But real confidence is not something you can fake. It's built over time through experience, through failure, through repeated exposure to difficulty. Confidence is evidence-based. You know what you can handle because you already handled it before, and that takes time. For most people, this stage should solidify somewhere in their late 20s, because after that, life becomes more intense. The margin for error shrinks. This level also includes employment, your role in society, and your ability to build functional relationships. At this stage, you should begin to understand who you really are, what personality you are trying to manifest. Recognize your tendency, your strengths, your weaknesses. You should be developing your unique skills, not randomly, but with intention. Those skills that can help you to facilitate your life. You should be accumulating resources, and more importantly, learn how to manage what you already have. Your time is resource. Your intention is resource, money is resource, and you should expose yourself to more action to obtain experience. The goal is not immediate success, the goal is experience, because experience builds awareness. Awareness builds confidence, and confidence allows you to operate effectively under pressure. Take risks while you can afford to lose, not recklessly, but deliberately. Extract value from every outcome. Next level, love and belonging, requires readiness. It's not just about relationships, it's about integration, assimilation. Friendship, intimacy, family, connection, these are not optional. They're part of your psychological structure. To navigate this level effectively, you need to learn to read people. You need to understand behavioral patterns, emotions, people's intentions. This is pure psychology. How you present yourself matters. How you communicate matters. How you are perceived matters. This is not about conformity. It's about awareness and adaptability. You are always playing roles at work, in relationships, in society. The better you understand this, the quicker you will get promotion in life, on the job, through stages. Learn to read people, learn body language, learn timing, learn when to speak and when to stay silent. This is a skill. This is emotional intelligence and self-introspection. And it directly impacts your ability to move to the next level, self-esteem. This is where the game changes. This is where things become serious. Respect cannot be granted. It cannot be forced. It can't be fake long-term. It is earned. And people assign respect differently. Some value achievements, others value strength, others value intelligence or kindness. So you need to understand people, not just individually, but in patterns. At this level, you build status. You develop leadership, not as a title, but as capability. Leadership is influence, responsibility, decision-making under pressure. And if you operate correctly at this level, recognition begins to appear. Recognition is deeper than respect. It reflects alignment with reality, because you can lie to yourself, but external recognition is harder to manipulate over time. Recognition comes from consistent achievement, and it creates leverage. Leverage is not just physical power, it's mental, strategic, and social strength. If you build the lower levels correctly, this is where you begin to break through. This is where freedom starts to become possible. And freedom is often misunderstood. Freedom is not just absence of responsibility. It is the result of mastering it. Freedom is the ability to choose your direction without being constrained by instability. And that can happen at different ages. But for many, this phase begins to solidify somewhere between their 30s and 40s. But again, there is no guarantees. Only probabilities. At the top is self-actualization. This is not a destination. It's not a final achievement. It's a process, a continuous state of development, refinement, and awareness. It's the integration of everything below it. To reach this level, you need holistic perspective. You need to think strategically, not just tactically. You need to understand systems, not just actions. And most importantly, you need honesty. If you are not where you want to be, you need to be able to admit why. Not blame circumstances, not blame others, but identify where you failed to act, where you made poor decisions, where you avoid responsibility. That level of honesty is rare, but it's necessary. Because reaching that age, that state of alignment, requires sacrifice. It requires discipline, time and energy, focus. You will have to give up comfort, distractions, excuses. Self-actualization has cost, and the real question is not whether it exists, but whether you are willing to pay for it or not. So push yourself. Build each level deliberately. Strengthen your foundation. Stabilize your position, expand your capacity, and before asking why you are not succeeding, ask something more precise. Where did you go wrong? Because somewhere along the structure there is a gap, and until you identify it, nothing above it will hold.